What's good with it in the hood with it? Welcome back to the Collective Clips, where you already know we get it in. But before we do, let's hit that like and subscribe button. Put your notification bell on all so that way you're directed in the direction of the dope content I'm kicking. And I highly appreciate all the support that I'm getting. We're going up and it's all because of you. I'm humbled and I appreciate it tremendously. Thank you, man, so much. You're making this channel pop and we're going to keep it going till the motherfucking casket drops, right? And that's just what it is. So I wanted to take and stir this content in a different direction. And a lot of people ask me a lot of questions and I'm open. I'm open for questioning because that's just the way it is, right? And one of the questions that stood out amongst the rest was a question from a Crip, right? The Cripas, the Cripos, however you want to say it. I say it, the Crips, right? A lot of respect. Shout out to the Crips. Them brothers right there are different. They move militant. They move different. And they got a rather large few cars on them prison yards, right? But this guy asked me, he said, how do they treat pedophiles and chomos and people like that? You know, do they not check paperwork? Do they take them under their wing? Is it all good if they're a Crip, if they're a brother, right? And my answer to that is hell no, right? If anything, if you have any type of sexual deviant charge on your jacket in the California prison system, it's all bad, right? It's very bad. And when it comes to the Crips or blacks in period, right? Whether Crips, Bloods, Kumis, Jamas, Muslims, non-affiliates, you know, all their different groups, you know, they're going to go hard in the paint just like anyone else. I don't know where this rumor comes from. There's a lot of prison rumors and a lot of people doing that he said, she said when it comes to certain groups, especially when it comes to the brothers, right? The blacks. Like they think they're not functioning or programming up to par in prison. And I'm here to tell you, first and foremost, man, I don't add preservatives. I don't bullshit you, right? The Crips will wreck your whole program. They're not playing whatsoever at all, especially them LA Crips. Them LA Crips are different. They hit differently, right? So I wanted to tell a story to answer the question in detail, man. Just how do they feel about Chomos? So there was this Crip, man, or I'm going to say he was an alleged Crip because he wasn't Cripping for that long as soon as he got into prison. And he hits the yard. Okay, when he hits the yard, again, man, it's up to your own people to go through all the procedures, the reglas, the rules, the politics. There's no way that a Norteño, a Southsider, a Wood brother, or anyone else is going to approach this man and get at him. When a brother gets there, a black gets there, the blacks will figure out what group he is a part of. And then they will start politicking and doing their clearance process, however they do it. Now, I'm not going to tell you the details. I know a little bit about a lot of it, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you what exactly they do to make sure that guy's secure. But there's the one universal thing that happens with all groups in California prison yards, and that's the checking of paperwork. Everybody will have their paperwork secure and ready to go. If you don't have your paperwork, you have a certain amount of time to get that. If you don't get that, you're not allowed on that prison yard. You're going to have to roll it up or get rolled up, get removed off that yard. Because people that come in, and I've seen it plenty of times, oh, see, the way my paperwork program works is I send it out to my old lady. No, that's an automatic red flag. I know we're talking about Crips, blue flags, but I'm saying red flag, brothers, right? That's an automatic red flag. If you say, and I've had it happen, hey, bro, I had to send it out to my lawyer, or my lawyer said I shouldn't show it, or I got an appeal, and this, and that. Fuck you. Straight up. I don't care what your lawyer, your old lady, your fat ass old lady said, or anybody in your familia. It's not no disrespect. It's just real. If you don't have your 128G, which is a documentation saying all your crimes that you've been previously charged for and what you're in for now, if you don't have that, if you don't have any paperwork about that case right there that you're locked up for, then more than likely, and it's likely more, you're not going to be on that yard for very long. People are going to already start looking at you some type of way, cross-eyed and shit, and you're gone. You're out of here. You're going to be considered trash. You're going to be considered not conforming to the proper procedures of the politics on that yard. That's just the way it is. That goes for any group. If you get there and you're like, hey, the aliens ate it. Well, guess what? Someone's going to pull out a big-ass piece. This alien's going to eat your face, and that's it. That's how it goes. So the Crips, just like any other group, check paperwork. So this guy gets there, and of course, they run through his paperwork or whatever they got to do. He's functioning on the yard. Who was I or anyone else in a different group to say that man was no good? Now, there are times when people recognize him from the county jail. And I'm going to kind of interweave a little story about me recognizing a Chomo and getting off on him, right? But at the same time, in the meantime, in between time, they check this guy's paperwork. So yes, the brothers do check paperwork, man. For those that say that, I'm getting so tired of hearing it, right? They check their paperwork, and yes, there's always homeboy favoritism. If someone's from a certain group, and it doesn't matter what ethnicity, what Crippin', Bloodin', Norteño Thuggin', Southsiderism, white guys, it doesn't matter what program you're from, there's always going to be the homeboy that has homeboy favoritism because you're from his hood or his area, or he knows you from fucking boot camp or whatever. You guys dated the same chick and fucking on accident, your pipas rubbed each other. I don't know. Whatever it is that makes that guy feel fucking personable with you and closer to you, he might try to speak up for you. But just like in any gang, gaggle, group, club, anything, when you speak up for someone, you will be held accountable for his bullshit. You will be held accountable for what he's got going on. So you better hope and pray that his case is clear and clean, because if it comes out that it isn't, you vouched for him, you stamped him, you spoke up for him. So now it's on you as well, buddy. And guess what? Where there's one shank, there's two. And they'll utilize him immediately. So this guy gets there and he falls right into the program. And again, man, he wasn't someone that you would even notice or trip on. But he did program on our side of the day room. So I got to meet him and was cool with him and did shake his hand, unfortunately, right? What's happening with it, brother, right? The Crippin' was real. Now, I've always had an affinity to the Crips. I've always showed them a lot of respect because I take it back to the Youth Authority days. See, something happened in the early 90s in the Youth Authority, which is just now being put out there because of social media. And only those that know, right? Back in the days in the early 90s, the Norteño car and the Crip car, especially the NCs, which are the Northern California Crips, but there were some LA Crips that involved themselves, became one. Came together like fucking some real life motherfuckers, right? And there was a thing called CXIV, Crip 14ers. And a lot of these guys, most of them being from the Stockton area, ran hard with that. I noticed that a lot more Crips was with the program when it came to that than the Northerners, right? Norteños are always skeptical and aware, very militant, so they watch everything and don't trust anybody, right? But the Crips was all in, man. And there was, I guess because we had the common enemy at that time, which was the whites and the Southsiders, we came together to fight that battle. And the CXRVers were rough, man. I met some right to this day. It's nothing but respects. They rocked the house, right? You big old Crips, CXIVs, they started to get it tatted on them. It became a phenomenon in YA, you know, whereas they almost became their own group. That's true stories, right? So anyways, I've always had an affinity or respect for the Crips on a different level. Now, when I went to the Youth Authority, and we're going to get back to the story of the kid, let him marinate over there for a minute because it ain't going to be long before he gets removed off the yard, right? So as a kid growing up in the Youth Authority, I say growing up because I did almost 7 years in the Youth Authority, I ran into a lot of different people from every different area, whether it be the Southern California area, Northern California, Central Valley, the Bay Area, everywhere. You meet people from all different groups. And I can tell you first and foremost, having done the majority of the chunk of my time in Southern California on Whittier Boulevard in Fred C. Nellis, which is no longer there, it's been torn down. That prison, or that youth authority, I call it prison because it was a youth prison, was dangerous. There was a lot of games that were played, a lot of kid games, but at the same time, you know, they didn't use soap and socks or batteries and socks to crack your shit. They used locks and rocks. People were getting their shit split. Fights were every single day. If you could say that you got out of the Youth Authority and you didn't fight once, you were dicked up. You were leva. You were not really in the game like that, and you was probably paying to Wayne, right? And that's just what it was. You paid your way. And even that, you're still going to get slapped in your mouth a few times and probably suck chorra and all kinds of weird shit they had going on in there. It was crazy, right? So anyways, I got real familiar and cool with a lot of Crips from A-Trade gangsters, from 60s, all the O's, 90s, 100s, you know, Long Beach area, the Insane Crips, the Watts, you know, the Grape Streets, the PJ Watts. And I can name so many different hoods, man, the Tragnews and Kelly Park Compton and all these different guys I met, and they all treated me with a lot of respect, man, and a lot of them looked out in times when a motherfucker needed them, right? When I was in the school area or I was up short and I was outnumbered, which was every day, these guys would back my play. So I was always indebted and forever respecting the Crips. And not only that, man, and it's crazy that opposite colors attract, right? That the red of the Norteños and the blue of the Crips, but we never played them colors. That was just a symbolization of our people to separate themselves from the Southsiders, whereas Crips and Bloods had their own color wars going on for whatever reason it may be. I don't know the details on that, right? But we were cool with the Cripas, period. And I respect them to this day. And there's no one can change that in my eyes. So growing up and going to prison, you know, I would tell war stories with them. We functioned on the same sides of the yard. I knew a lot of their homeboys or knew of their homeboys. And it was just a trip on how we were so familiar with, you know, gangster shit. Because what people don't understand is the barrios, Mexicanos, Chicanos, Southsiders, Norteños, we grew up amongst blacks. We grew up with black hoods, Crip hoods, and blood hoods right over the, you know, tracks, right on the other side of the fucking, you know, the west side and the east side, right on the other side of the street. So a lot of us grew up together, going to the same taco trucks, cruising them same lolos, knocking them same tiradas. That's just how it was. For those of you that don't know what tirada means, refer to the Gunner Handbook. It means house, right? So we were doing our thing together, man. Wasn't no difference. There was sometimes and conflict in my city between the Norteños and the Crips, and that was more of a personal beef that spilled off into the streets. But shit happens. It didn't mean I hated every other Crip from California. It just meant them dudes right there got it coming, and they can get that. And that's just how that was, right? So there was never no hatred in my heart towards the Crips. It was nothing but respect, right? But I had heard the same rumors that we hear on social media, the same stories that get told, the same bullshit about, hey, blacks, Crips, they don't check paperwork. They allow sexual offenders to walk the yard. This and that and this. And I'm here to tell you, fuck no. That is a lie. That is a myth. That might happen on an individual basis just based upon someone's from a certain hood. But that happens in every group, man, where vatos try to let their homeboy wiggle by, knowing damn well their homeboy was caught up on a gang rape years ago on some Danny Masterson weirdo shit, right? As far as the group, the Crips, they're not going to let that fly. And here's what happened to that youngster. So he gets there, like I said, his Cripping is mandatory and it's real. And for those that don't understand, the LA Crips are very militant in what they do too. The blacks, particularly on a 4 or 3 yard in the California prison system, are very structured as well. They have soldados. They have people that are always ready. The blacks are at war with everybody. Sorry to say it, man, but it's the truth, right? The whites don't care for them. They don't care for the whites. The Southsiders and the blacks, for some reason, have been bitter enemies for a long time. There are times when they're sociable, but we all know, like, the Southsiders can't eat after the blacks and vice versa and things of that nature. So there's always going to be some type of friction there. It's just the way it is. Now, as far as the Norteño movement, man, with the Crips, it's always been a cool stance, a defensive stance. But there are issues that arise, man, especially when you're functioning in the close proximity of another group. That's a big organization, man. There seems to be issues that come up. So it's the blacks versus everybody, man. And one thing about the brothers is, man, if it's something racial, they will all come together to get off for their people, right? But usually it's individual. The Bloods won't have nothing to do with the Crips business and vice versa. The Muslims as well. That's your business, brother, man. Do it correct, right? And key ways, and pull out your key sues and get to doing what you do, right? Now, this guy gets there, and like I said, he's blended in. And one of his homeboys pulls up from his neighborhood, right? And at first, I thought it was all crimson and clover. I thought it was all good because they're kicking it, walking the track. But I started to notice that they were walking the track a lot. They weren't necessarily working out like most of the brothers was doing. These guys were always on the track, and they looked like they were in heated discussion. Well, what had happened was the guy who pulled up knew some dirt or some alleged dirt on this guy, but he had no paperwork. Here's another thing about the California prison system. Never, and I mean never, speak on another man or fucking say, hey, guess what? Rumor is, or word on the curb, or hey, I heard back in the days, without proper paperwork. Because if you slander or defecate on a man's name, slander his character, you're going to be the one that reaps the benefits of that, and it ain't going to be the benefits you want. It's going to be WIC program, homes of welfare. It's not going to be money, right? Because what's going to happen is you're going to get hit in the head with one of them 6 gallons of milk they give you a month. People ain't playing. If you don't have paperwork on someone, don't even fucking bring it up. Because it's going to be up to you to deal with it. If you were like, hey, this fool from fucking back in the days, he was alleged to have done this, that, bro, I was right there. But you know what I'm saying? Well, where's the paperwork, homie? Well, Spencer, you know what I mean? I don't know how to get that. Well, you better get that now and got that, because if not, it's going to be on you. And when you get that, you're going to be the one to jam him up. And you, because you seem to have a problem with them, are going to be the one to have to deal with it. So if you don't want to deal with all the fucking repercussions, the ramifications, and all the bullshit, the best thing for you to do on the prison yard is shut your fucking mouth. Straight up. Even if you kind of know about the dirt this guy did, you hold it to yourself till you're able to facilitate some proper procedures and paperwork, right? Get a hold of your fat old lady that's probably with some other dude's cock in her mouth, right? Have her reach out, go public records, whatever, and bring you the paperwork. And then, only then can you bring it to your llavero, the person who's basically your shot caller, and tell him, look, bro, I did it like this and like that, and I did it with the wiffle ball bat. Here you go, right? And he could look at the paperwork, decipher it, and more than likely he's going to be like, all right, brother, good looking out. We're going to deal with this shit. Again, you still might be put on frontline status to deal with it because you brought it up, but you crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's. Now it's time to dot his I's. So anyways, these guys were in heated discussion walking this yard, right? And I see that a couple of Crips pulled them to the side, some of the main dudes, and these Crips are big, man. Brothers they're born with the six pack, right? They're just born big, right? Pulls them to the side and they're like chopping it up. And I see a little heated discussion. So I tell some of the homeboys, hey, you see that shit? Some of the homeboys tell me, yeah, I've been noticing, bro. Keep trucha. You know what I mean? These vatos might be up to something icky and sticky and tricky. All right, we're on it. And so we're kind of watching the Crip movement, counting them, seeing how many soldados they have on the yard. Because anytime you notice something out of the norm in prison, especially on a 4 or a 3 yard, right? You start to do, well, Northerners are always going to do their cuenta. They're always going to do their count and look at targets and have targets on the yard. But when it comes to a group that's acting a little suspicious or out of the norm, now the focus is on them specifically, right? So we're counting them. Hey, how many are there out here? Is there going to be drama? You know, are they tripping or whatever? And of course, a lot of the Crip homeboys were cool with a lot of the Norteño homeboys. So there was a lot of conversation that would go on there. So one of the older OG homeboys got at one of the Crips, you know, hey, what's up? You guys good, bro? You need anything? You know, always respectfully and professionally. Hey, you know, if you guys need anything, let us know. Not that motherfuckers are scared. Motherfuckers are fishing, right? Trying to fish to see if a vato will fucking give up the ghost. And again, this guy did, right? He was like, yeah, bro, we're having some issues with our people. Someone brought up something on someone. Again, like I said, he brought up something without paperwork. So what had happened was these two guys, one guy recognized another one's filth. The guy that came in recognized that youngster that was there and was like, bro, weren't you accused by one of your primas, his cousin, right, of doing some bad things to her kids back in the days? And that dude said, nah, she was just hating, talking shit, whatever. I never got arrested for it, but he lied. He lied. He was arrested. And that dude was like, I could have swore, bro, that you went to jail on some shit, man, and took like a deal or something, right? Like some probation or something. Dude was like, nah, bro. Yes, she did fucking say that, but you know, chicks be just fucking hating because I was having money. I wasn't pilling her up. That's always the excuse. That is always the excuse. They say it about everyone. Oh, man. SPM said it. They're trying to extort me for money, right? Always when the chomoism is involved and these dudes are doing weird shit to children, they always try to say that the parent is trying to bleed them for money or extort them. Extort you for what? Poop butt, right? So anyways, that was his story. So this guy brought it to the attention of people and started to get the paperwork. Well, he found it. He found it, man. And he brought it in eventually, right? And pobrecito, man, that chomo right there got his whole head rocked. These Crips were on him viciously. So that led me to want to do this story because there's a lot of people that throw questions out there like, do the Crips allow sexual? No. Why would anyone do that? Why would a grown man allow a weirdo, a chomo, a rapist, or anything to walk the yard? It just doesn't happen. Like I said, there are times that they slide by because of an old case like this, where it happened when the guy was younger and they didn't have the proper paperwork. But your bullshit always catches up to you. There's always going to be in life someone that's going to recognize your shit. Case in point, I'm in Tracy prison. And I've told this story in detail before, but it kind of coincides. So for those of you that are new to my channel, here we go, right? So prior to me going to prison on a violation, right, I'm on Facebook. Okay, I'm on Facebook. I'm chopping it up with some of the homegirls. I got this homegirl. She's fucking beautiful. Only she has about 12 kids. Literally. No exaggeration. No tapatio. No fucking Uncle Pete's hot sauce. She got that, right? But she doesn't look like she had a kid in her. Her lips are so bad, right? Makes me want to give her a phone call after this video. That's how bad she was. But I know her shit was like a cave. Her shit was like a cavern. It was tore back, right? But anyways, I used to chop it up with her for good times. For cheap times. I said for cheap times, right? And we're chopping it up and I'm looking at her friends list and I see a cat on there, right? A dude that I did prison time with prior when he was active, when he was claiming my city, right? And he was just a brother, non-affiliate, but he was cool, right? Or at least I thought he was. He was on that yard. So I was like, oh, how you know this cat? And she was like, oh, I know him from Whoop-de-Whoop. And man, you know, we all know each other. It's a small town. All right, cool, whatever, right? His dad was a police officer in the town, you know, so everybody was always skeptical of him. Come to find out, I'm looking a couple days later on Facebook and other things, and I see that he's charged on child molestation charges, right? What? Right? So I called the homegirl immediately. Hey, look at this shit. Stop talking to that dude. She was actually talking to, like, he was going to try to go into her, I don't know what he was going to do in there, right? But he was going to try to get into her cavern. Or was he really after them 12 kids she had? One never knows, does one? Well, look. So anyways, I warned her, like, hey, get away from that dude. That fucking dude's no good, right? So she was like, oh, okay, you're just saying that because he's black. I said, come on now, man. Fuck what you're talking about, right? I'm telling you the truth. So she looks into it. I showed her. She was like, damn, thank you, man. You saved my life. I was going to invite him over here for dinner. He was going to eat, and then he was going to eat again. I was like, well, why can't I eat again? Right? In fact, I don't even want to eat. I just want to just put my arm or something. You know what I mean? Whatever works for me. So anyways, we get that figured out. About a year later, I catch a violation. I'm in Tracy, right? And I've told it as I'm walking out to this yard. Now, the yard in Tracy prison was very large, big, probably the biggest yard in the California system, right? Very big yard. And our weight pile, which wasn't a weight pile, was just bars, was way on the other side of the yard on the right-hand side, right? That's where the Norteños function. So as I'm walking, right, they're releasing all these different buildings, right? And I was on J-Wing at the time. And I'm just walking with a couple homeboys. We're chopping game, right? And out of the corner of my eye, I see somebody. I'm like, no way, right? And it's that fucking Chomo. I see him. No paperwork. I didn't need none of that, right? Maybe I did. I didn't care. He was black. Maybe the blacks are going to trip. I don't care. Hang! Right? I got off on him. Boom, 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 boom. Rushed him right there. Because I know him from my county. I know him from my town. And I know what he was in there for. Period, right? I knew he was convicted on that shit. I seen him with my own eyes. So I got off, whatever, right? I go back to K-Wing, which is fucking the whole plead my case. Everything is good. You did the righteous thing. Yeah, that dude is. I don't know why he made it to that yard or how the cops let him. That's why I say, again, just because you have a weird charge, sometimes the cops will let you slide out there. Sometimes they will, right? Sometimes they feel like a nut, right? And sometimes they don't. And this fool slid. And then I slid his ass backwards. Sauce, right? So anyways, I say that to say this. It happens. These motherfucking weirdos do go to yard, right? They do slide by. And in the case of the Crips, man, for those that asked me that question, the guy that asked me that question, do the Crips ever? Yes, they look at paperwork. Yes, they get off on Chomos. They eradicate them from the yard just like any other group segment. And no, they're not going to function with sexual deviance, right? Now, that's just the way it is, man. You know, what they did to that guy, I wish I could watch it over and over again. I can in my mind, but like live, HD, right? This motherfucker, and he was running, help, help, get over here, cuz, on to rip it, right? It was like C-Mac getting beat up by a little guy, right? They were just on him, just boom, but on 50 feet, cuz, right? The Crips are real. They're gangster about their shit, man. Don't sleep on them. Like I said, I've seen them in action ever since I was a youngster, all the way to prison, and I can't say nothing ill about them or nothing bad about them. You know, there has been times when it has been Norteños versus Crips. I've never been involved, I could say, in a melee or a riot against them, but I can tell you we've had words and there was a few little incidences that took place, right? We'll just leave it like that. But that's business, nothing personal. You know, as far as on some personal shit, I give them nothing but respects. True story. So for those of you that ask me, how do they treat Chomos? Just like any other group, like the dirt that they are. With that being said, I hope that you move smooth with a purpose. Get everything that you want coming. And remember, at the end of the day, it's all about the struggle, to strive, to struggle. I'm going to continue to drop the dopest content on YouTube that I possibly can, man, and give you guys the realest and illest stories. For those that have questions and want to know certain things about the California prison system or the whole West Coast, man, let me know, and I'll get right back to you. That's just what I does, right? Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle for what I believe in, and that's the betterment of all people. The coming together, man, the shedding some good light, and hopefully one of you little youngsters that are watching this can keep your ass out of prison, unless you want to get your whole head or your cheeks clapped back, because that's what happens in there. Bang, bang.